Yeah. Hey, everybody. How's we all doing today?
Hi, happy Wednesday.
Hello. Happy Wednesday. It's kind of funny. In my house, we're doing Wacky Wednesday with the kids. So we turned all the furniture upside down. They just had breakfast for dinner, all kinds of silly stuff like that.
That sounds fabulous.
That's funny. So, so today we are cooking in our homes. So I'm doing this at home so we can give it a shot. I'm going to show you how to cook a steak. It is going to get a little smoky. So if I were you, if you have a fan on the, a hood system, turn it on, ceiling fans, or open a window, just because I can almost guarantee you I'm going to set my smoke alarm off. And that's okay. So the other thing is, let's preheat our ovens to 400, and I'm going to throw my apron on and we can get started.
Hi, Chef.
Hi.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
We're doing fine.
So I'm here to
All right. Let's talk about cooking steak. So a few things to know. Whenever I'm cooking steak, especially, sorry, there's this weird glare from the light here, but it kind of makes me look a little angelic. There are two types of thermometers you can get. You can get a digital or what's called an analog. Same principle with clocks, right? One is a dial. You're going to have to leave it in longer, and it takes longer to reach that temperature and to get that reading, which means more time out of the oven, which means that you're spending more time messing with your meat. You can get a great digital thermometer on, say, Amazon for $15. And it's an instant read. You put it in 4 seconds, you're seeing exactly where you need to be. So I always recommend going digital. It's just easier. It's better to do.
I looked on the other one. I was hoping you did.
Now for our steak, there are a lot of different types of steak. And looking at our meal kit here, if you guys have a good view of what I have here, we have this weird brown stuff is our demiglace, heavy cream, brandy, Dijon mustard. These things are going to be for our sauce, which we're going to build first. And then the other stuff we have is our filet, red onion, oil, and then Ponzio seasoning. Ponzio seasoning is named after this just really handsome guy. It goes great on steaks and chicken and whatever you like, but it's our main seasoning blend at the club. It just got that name because that's how the vendor labeled it. So now it's stuck being called Ponzio seasoning, which is okay. So when we come over to the stove, we're going to build the sauce first, put the sauce aside, we'll let it sit, and then we'll focus on cooking the steak. Basic steps for cooking the steak so you guys know what to expect. I'm going to sear one side, and while it's searing, I'm going to add butter and the onions and start to baste it. And the basting process is where you get all the crust, all the flavor, all that great, all those great elements, but it's also where you get a lot of smoke.
What do you do?
So I'll show you guys that, and you may not be able to do it at the same time. If you can, awesome. If you can position your phone or computer near the stove, but I also don't want it to fall into the pan and your butter basting an iPhone. Probably wouldn't be a good idea. So we might have some weird angles, but we're gonna have a little bit of fun. First thing we need to do just before we even get started is we just have to slice up this red onion. Now for the red onion, you can do shallots. You could do, sometimes I'll use garlic, thyme, other herbs, bay leaves. It's whatever's going to just impart a little bit of flavor into your steak while it's cooking. And you really don't need to if you use a good steak. We use a really high quality steak at the club. We use Meyer Ranch, and it's all natural, antibiotic and hormone free, upper 1/3 prime. I mean,
Just slice it.
It needs absolutely nothing. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just pat our steak dry a little bit with a paper towel. This is just to get any residual blood and juices off. we want these to be juicy, so we don't want to worry about taking too much off. But if we take that little bit of excess moisture off, when we put this in the pan, it's going to help it get a better char right away. And then to season our steak, and take our seasoning mix, and when you sprinkle seasoning, you don't want to go really close. Some people like to go close so that they can see every spot. The higher you go, the more it cascades and fans, and you have a more even coating on your steak. And now there are a lot of comments and conversations about pre-seasoning steaks, and some people swear by it. Some people don't. I personally don't, not for steaks that are 2 inches thick or less, because all you're doing when you pre-season because of the salt is you're pulling moisture out of that steak. And then when you go to cook it, you've already changed and kind of cured the steak, so the consistency is different. It's not going to be as tender of a steak once you go and eat it. It's going to have some rougher chews, a little bit more leathery nature. And you know, you might not notice it, but someone will. I notice it when I eat it. I notice the difference. So we're going to take this whole setup over to the stove. It's going to get a little choppy because I'm at home, so I don't have necessarily the same kind of setup I have at work. But let's see how we can do this. I think that's good. What do you guys think?
Great.
Good?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing is going to be our sauce. So we're going to preheat our pan. This one we're going to do on a medium-high heat. And the ingredients we need are the cream, the brandy, the mustard, and the demiglace. Now you can find demiglace at the store. A lot of times it's in the freezer section.
I can't.
But what this is this is made, it's a bone broth. It's been reduced down. So roasted veal bones, tomato paste, carrots, celery, onions, all cooked for a while, and then it's boiled down to be this thick gelatinous mixture. Absolutely delicious. It's a great base, just like when we use chicken stock. Same idea. So I want to get my pan nice and hot. Again, do not test the heat of your pan by doing this. I do it because I'm a knucklehead. And then once your pan's hot, you're going to remove it from the heat. So just lift it. And this is going to avoid as much of a flare up from the brandy. And add the brandy in. And then we'll boil this down.
You want brandy? Are we supposed to fry?
No. You should have it in a little black container.
Nay.
Add both of them. You can add both of them. Add the other.
Should you add both of them?
Yeah.
We have two steaks, so should we add two of them?
Yeah, you can do. I mean, you won't need. Yeah, I would. I was gonna say you don't need 2 times the sauce recipe. It could be a lot, but it's pretty delicious sauce, so you probably will need it.
What?
Go ahead.
It's on fire.
Okay. I'm supposed to let it burn. See, this is burning.
Should it go on flame?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, just like what I have going on. Okay. So what we want to do is you can do a few different things. You can actually force this to flambé. If you want to deal with that. Some people don't like to have all these flames in their home. I'm one of them. Just because I don't have a big giant setup here, my microwave is, you know, kind of standard height above the stove, so I don't like giant flames happening.
Flaming? Okay.
I don't see it.
Yeah, keep it flaming.
Because I smell everything.
All 3 of them?
It's 3 of them.
supposed to keep flaming.
Can you guys hear me okay when I'm over here?
Yep.
Okay.
Talk a little louder.
Talk a little louder?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what we've done now is the brandy is kind of reduced down by about half. You want to make sure it has time to reduce down, because if you add the heavy cream too early, then it's going to separate on you. The alcohol is going to separate the cream. So I'm moving around just because this middle burner isn't really great for making sauces, but it's good for the camera angle. So, so then you add the cream, and you add the mustard.
And the cream and the mustard?
Yep.
In the pan, back this one.
I can flip it over.
And now what we're looking for, and I'll show you over here on this burner, is nice thick bubbles. That shows that our cream's reduced. And then we're going to add the demiglace. So you see it's pretty fast. And now at this point, we're just going to let this kind of simmer down to just be a rich, delicious mustard sauce. Add some peppercorns. You have a traditional aquaf sauce.
You need to mix.
This is right.
I think probably the wrong spoon. Sorry. Help with corn. Did he add the demi? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So mix up, chef, mix up the cream and the mustard and then add the demiglace?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So your sauce should look like this nice like cream inside a coffee color. And then you're just gonna let it kind of boil down a little until it's that nice thick consistency that you want. And you're ready to roll. We're gonna set this sauce aside. Now, this sauce is a great base. So you can add mushrooms to it. If you wanna do a mushroom brandy sauce, you can add, like I said, black pepper and use it as an aquaf sauce. There's all sorts of applications for it. Also goes really great with scallops. Very, just light and simple, but rich. So the next thing we're going to be doing, which is the messier, crazier part, is going to be the steak.
Should we leave the sauce on
a
a
burner?
burner?
You can until it gets that consistency you want. We're looking for just a nice thick sauce. So if yours is already there because you have a wider pan and it boiled down faster, then go ahead and take it off. I'm using a smaller pan, so mine's going to need a few more minutes. Okay. So if you guys are ready, we can get started on the steak.
Yep.
Let me try and get a better angle here.
Chef,
Yes, ma'am.
did you say put some peppercorns in the sauce?
I said you could if you wanted to make it like an aquaf sauce. You absolutely could.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. So for our steak, we're going to start heating our pan. Now, you want to do this over a medium-high heat and give it time to heat up. Once we get into it, we're going to stay at that medium-high range, but we want to make sure there's a lot of heat in the pan. We're going to place some oil in there. You don't want too much because remember, we're going to add a lot of fat to this pan when we start butter basting. So just enough oil to lightly coat the bottom of the pan. And then you want to make sure you have a spoon handy and a towel. These are your two big things to be able to make this dish. Now, knowing that my pan is hot, I'm going to take the steak and put it in here.
From the bottom, not on the seasoned side.
Both sides should be seasoned.
Ah.
They are.
Right, thank you.
They are.
Don't be cheap with the salt.
Yep.
Yep.
Serious question for you.
Yes.
If you had to pick, how hot do you want the surface of your pan when you're searing?
When I'm searing?
400, 500, 600?
Well, so I grew up working on wood ovens, so I like 700 and above, but that's just because I understand it. But when I'm teaching people, I like to see it around like 550, 600.
Okay, great, thank you.
But I'm used to like natural wood post oak heat, so. Okay, so now at this point, the biggest thing that we can do is be patient. What's happening is all these little bubbles here is all the moisture in the steak and all that extra stuff that didn't come off when we dabbed it with a paper towel. All this steam is evaporating. And the natural blood in the steak is going to caramelize, the natural sugars in the blood. And that's what's going to give us a crust or a caramelization. And that's what makes steaks so great. So that's why in a ripping hot broiler at a steakhouse, there's nothing like that char. That's all the natural sugars in the steak, in the blood of the steak, caramelizing. So you don't want to move your steak too soon because what's happening is it's sticking to your pan and it's creating that char, which is also called the fond. Now, if I move it too soon, I run the risk of some of it sticking here and not sticking on the steak, which I don't want. But if you can see, I already got a nice, decent color on this side of the steak. Okay, but it's nowhere near where I want it. So I'm going to flip it. And now I'm going to add the butter and the onion.
Oil and did he just add the butter? He's just added the butter.
How's that look?
Oh, I think that looks nice. Look at it.
Yeah, Jeff, you gotta get the oil on your pan.
Let me know when you guys are at this point are ready for me to keep moving.
I don't think we need to add that much butter.
Yeah, we need that about
You won't need all the butter unless you have a really big pan.
You can keep cooking.
And you're cooking a lot of steak.
Or you just have a pan that's too big. Like if ideally I would have done this steak in this pan.
Okay. We like butter.
Okay, I gotta put the onion. Here, I got it.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah, we have the onions and the butter.
Okay. So here's what I do. You take the handle. I'm a righty. So I take the handle of the pan and I put it at 7 o'clock, 7 to 8 o'clock. This way I can tilt the pan. See?
Right.
I take my spoon and I hold it from the far end of the spoon all the way down here. So I have room to move the spoon without getting my fingers in the butter. And I tilt the pan and I just drape this hot butter over the steak.
No, that's not any longer.
Now what I'm basting in here is milk fat, butter, onion flavoring. I mean, this steak's going to be delicious when it's all done. And you just keep doing this. Now, certain steaks like a ribeye and New York strip, you can cook start to finish this process.
Okay.
The reason you don't with a fillet is it's just too thick. These ones are too thick. But if I had smaller filet medallions, I do it like this from start to finish. And now, as I'm basting it with the top butter, it's building more of a crust on the top of the steak. Once you get a decent color, you're going to want to flip it gently because remember there's a lot of fat in this pan. So you're going to want to do it to the other side too. Now this principle goes the same way for, say you like to sous vide steaks. You chill your sous vide steak and then this is how you would reheat it to get that char, that beautiful like sear on it.
Hey!
There you go.
I hear somebody's smoke alarm.
Told you guys.
You got it?
No.
Oh, that's me. I told you it was going to happen. I'll be right back.
Oh, it's his.
We're not. So far, that seems to be the same process. I didn't do the basic.
I'm switching to gallery view.
All right, so normally at this point, I get yelled at to take the steak out of the pan, which is what I'm going to do. Now, if you can see, there is a gorgeous, gorgeous char on here. Okay? As close as you can get on a broiler, way better than what you can get on a grill at home, especially for thinner steaks like this or even smaller. Now, the next step will be I want to cook it to the temperature I want of doneness. So, for me, this guy's sitting about rare because all that butter makes it cook pretty quick. So this is only going to need a few minutes in the oven for me. You might like it a little farther. If you're using, say, a thermometer, you know, right now this is sitting at about 110 degrees. We're going to want to bring it up to 125. Get that beautiful medium rare.
125.
Internal temperature. So I'm going to place this in the oven and just wait a minute.
Is your oven on?
And now I get to sit here and judge you guys.
Oh, you want to see?
Yeah, I'd love to see where you're at. Let's spotlight Lynn.
And you. Oh. You got a photograph.
See, you're not. It's not that smoky in your house.
Can't get to the pan.
Camera's in the back.
No, I cooked it. Oh, well, I can't find the pan. I'm trying here. Wait a minute.
They look gorgeous.
Dude, I love this technique. I really do. It's a great way to cook steaks.
Anyway,
So you put them in another pan to put them in the oven, and you took off the sauce on this and put the whole pan into the oven, right?
Right. I poured the onions and all that excess grease out before I put it in the oven, just because I don't need that mess in the oven, and it's not going to do anything for the steak. I don't want to put a bunch of popping oil into the oven. How you guys doing? Steak in the oven?
Oh, us?
Yeah. We're gamblings. Huh?
We're taking lots of notes. We're doing it after we watch.
Smart.
oh,
Awesome. Hello.
Hey.
How's it going?
Well, Chef, I have to confess, I have to tip my amateur chef hat to my sous chef who's cleaning up an oil container that I dropped on the floor. But
Oh, this sauce looks wonderful.
That's
And
it.
past President Terry Hendrickson is watching our 4-month-old as we are standing here in the kitchen. So
Man, you know what?
Hey, Terry, good job.
hey, Dad.
Ter-
hi, Terry.
Terry, you got to come by my house and do it for the next video so you can watch mine. That'd be great.
Hey, Chef, we have a question from Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
What temp should the oven be on?
So I put it on 400. If it's a convection, 375.
But we don't want to keep, how long do we want to keep the steaks in the oven?
Well, see, so that's kind of the variable there because based on the thickness of your steak and how long you basted it in the pan and all that is going to vary. So I'm about to pull mine out of the oven. Mine only needed a little kiss in the oven, a quick time because it was about a rare. But that's why I recommend getting a thermometer so you'll be able to read where you need to be and you can keep track of it.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I only have an analog.
Analog's fine. It's going to do the job. They're all going to tell you the temperature. It's just a matter of what is going to be most convenient.
I have it digital. I just don't know what happened to it.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll use an analog too, so we'll be on the same page.
Okay, we're good.
All right.
By the way, those pork chops last week were fantastic.
They were so good, weren't they?
They were
awesome.
unbelievable.
And everyone did such a great job with it.
And we're gonna have those in the wigwam when we come on the other side, right?
That is correct.
I want to see if you do as good as I did.
I probably won't.
Excuse me, I cooked those pork chops. I'd let you do the steak, but I did the pork chops.
Where did I?
Okay, we're good.
There it is. Okay. So when you put your thermometer in your steak, you want to pick the fatter side of the steak. And if you look on your thermometer, there's a little dimple on here. That dimple is where it gets the best temperature reading. So that's where you want to line.
Pretty inserted.
Yeah, to the part where, to the thickest part of the steak.
I did.
Okay, and then I'm just gonna sit here and wait. And like I said, where I am at 125 already, so this is at a perfect medium rare. I mean, do you expect anything less? So to do our steak itself, we're gonna put the steak on the plate, and then we have this gorgeous sauce that we made. That is delicious, and I'm excited about. And then when you're dressing a steak, because you got this great char, you don't want to cover the whole thing in sauce because you're going to mess the mouthfeel up, right? So why do all this work just to smother it in sauce? It's like making something crispy, like breaded, and then just pouring gravy on it. So we're going to only cover part of the steak, just a little bit, just like one small side. And then you can garnish with it. You know, you can go around the plate if you want to keep fancy, or you could do just a hefty pool right there. But now your bites get the sauce. You can scoop in the sauce. You have all this great texture.
Excellent.
Just kind of perfect and delicious. So that's how you cook a steak at home. That's how I cook a steak at home. Woo.
Yeah.
Any questions?
No, but it's going to be the way we're going to cook a steak next time.
Yeah? Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Well, guys, thank you.
Chef.
Enjoy. I hope you like the sauce. I hope you enjoy the steak.
Hey, Chef, one question.
Yes.
We've got some dairy-free people in our household. So the heavy cream, we were going to sub, we have like this lactose-free whole milk. Do you have any idea what the substitution? Should we do more whole milk?
You know, I don't know how it reduces. I do know there's some great lactose, like dairy-free yogurts that you can fold in, and like dairy-free sour creams. Those work really well. Or you can omit the cream altogether and then boil it down, and then at the end add some of a dairy-free butter.
Okay.
And that'll add that creaminess and cut through it and avoid that allergy.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, well, let's see. The Neidermans and Curtis Linder are watching live. All right. How you doing, guys? So thank you all so much. Take care. I will see you soon. Tomorrow we have chicken parmigiana. Friday we have the apple tart to 10. And next week the whole new menu will come out. So hope you guys are having fun with it.
We're looking forward to Easter too, Chef.
It's going to be great. Easter's going to be fantastic.
Thanks, Chef.
All right. Take care. Good night. Great job. Great job.